Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat like change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed. Today, we're diving into the journey with Enzo, the founder and CEO of CMYQ, from crafting innovation to and achieving global recognition. Enzo has and his friend have really redefined on how we think about educational play and also toys, especially with his product CMYQ's with award-winning product, which we'll also talk about the uniqueness with his product design and how was he was able to reach over 150 million social media viewer. I think social media is definitely a really strong play with Enzo's team. So thank you so much, Enzo, for being on our podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Jason. Really excited to be here. Thanks for reaching out. I really enjoyed that intro that you just played because it's just being reminded of all the other people who are kind of sharing the journey in this space. It's not something that I get to see very often. You know, like there's a lot of e-commerce businesses and other businesses that I know and that I'm friends with, but people in like the toy or educational space, you don't see that as often. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, that is the focus of the podcast. So last year we have interviewed over 70 guests on the podcast, all in the toys and game space.
Good job, man. Good job.
This year we're trying to interview even more people this year to bring more stories of, you know, what is working and not working. And I think your story and your journey is also very inspirational for a lot of our listeners as well. So can you kind of start first sharing with our listener, how was this idea behind CMYQ was born? And since you have a product, maybe when you're sharing the story, maybe also show the product because it's kind of hard to explain the product.
I've got a bunch of our products.
Yeah.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
So this is a mega cube of a CMY cube. So as you can see, as you turn it around, is it magenta or yellow or cyan? And it's actually all three and none. So a CMY cube, it stands for cyan, magenta, and yellow, and it's a cube. And our business is named after the hero product, but we sell all different sorts of products that all have something to do with color theory, optics, geometry, physics in some way. You should be able to use our products to teach a variety of subjects. It doesn't always have to be about education though. A lot of graphic designers, illustrators, things like that, they are interested in our products as well, just because of the color theory side of it. And then sort of the third space we're in, which is probably the fastest growing, and it wasn't something that we intended, is special needs, specifically things like autism, like things like that. We never intended to be in that space, but people found our products. They found that it resonated with them. Either it helped them calm down, or it's like a meditation tool, or something just to put your energy into. And so we've been developing there as well. But business started when my partner, my fiance, who is also my business partner, Gabrielle, during COVID, I think she was looking through TikTok or something like that, and she saw some videos on color theory. And my background is in engineering. I went to school for aerospace engineering, and she asked me, just to kind of explain, as she does, just explain some facet of the universe. And I love color theory because it's really misunderstood as the role that it plays in wider science, because colors are actually part of the electromagnetic spectrum, but so is radio waves, so are microwaves, so is the Wi-Fi that is making my computer work right now, or the Bluetooth that's making my headphones connect to the computer. Those are all different forms of light. And so people don't often think about it that way, but it's true. And the strata of the electromagnetic spectrum that we can actually observe easily is what we call visible color. So I'm explaining all this to Gab, you know, because I'm nerding out on this. I love this. And she asked me to kind of, is there a way she could kind of physically understand it? Because I'm just making these abstract concepts. And there's these cool color mixing tools you can see online. And I've actually built a few for our website. They're going to be released soon. But then I started looking into it. I was like, you know, it would be cool to have something that combined colors, because a prism separates colors. You start with 100% of visible light, which comes out as white, and you put it into a prism, and it'll separate the colors into their components. But there wasn't anything that sort of did that in reverse. And I started looking it up, and I saw that there were some artists back in the day, a guy named Vasa, who had these acrylic art installations in museums, and he would play with colored acrylic and mix the colors. So, like, you know, from one angle you saw the sculpture in a certain color, but from the other angle it was a completely different color. I thought that was very cool, and I started looking into stained glass and how people have been layering different colors to create new colors in a physical sense for well over 1,000 years. You know, there's some Gothic cathedrals that use the same concept as my CMY cube that are, you know, centuries and centuries old. But there wasn't anything that you could hold that was a consumer product, something that was made for the masses, not like an art piece or a cathedral. And so I got prototyping, because I've always had a workshop. I was trained in engineering, but I became a carpenter. So I've always had, you know, I've got all the tools. I got a 3D printer set up right here. I got a few 3D printers actually. So I'm just like, I'm playing around. And based on the inspiration and the research that I could find, we kind of came up with the original prototype of a CMY cube.
Was it originally that big? Was it a little bit smaller?
No. So this is actually not even the standard size. The standard size is that big, but just from what I had freely available, this is the mega cube. This is 8 times the volume, twice the dimension on the side. And so we had an original prototype. Gab and I both had businesses previously. I had a carpentry company, and Gab had a handbag business. So we were experienced enough in business to know that we'd found something cool here, something kind of new, something that you couldn't find. And when I went to name it as the CMY cube, that domain name was available.
Okay.
It's like cmycubes.com was available. And so if you know anything about e-commerce, finding a clean domain name
that's tricky.
That's gold. It was a gold mine. And when we saw that cmycubes.com was available, Gab and I kind of looked at each other. It must have been like 10 p.m. Looked at each other and thought, okay, let's just buy this domain name. we probably spent, I don't know, like $400 or $500 that night, and just bought every variation of this domain name, because we'd done a lot of domain name purchases in the past. And so we knew that if we'd found something cool, we needed to kind of protect it. And then we put it on pre-order based on some really early prototype videos. And it went viral overnight.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Overnight. So like, you know, I think we woke up the first day after putting some content out, and there was like 30 orders, which is crazy, because for there to be 30 orders, that means that thousands of people must have interacted with this piece of content, right? Because the conversion rates are so low, especially for untested, really janky website, you know, content. And then the next day there was like 100 orders, and the next day there was like hundreds of orders, and it went bananas. And at that point we only had prototypes. I didn't even have.
You don't even have a physical product yet.
Didn't have a physical product. Didn't have manufacturing facility for the product. Didn't have a distribution channel. Had no idea what we were doing. Had never fulfilled products before. Like we'd fulfilled products for the handbags. It's very different for something that's a soft product than it is for something that's heavy and fragile like ours is. And I'd done a service-based business before, so there was a steep learning curve. Fortunately, we had contacts that could help us get this thing manufactured. And it took about 3 months, but we did it. We finally, you know, made our first order and started to fulfill. And it was just in time for Christmas. So then it was like early December, and it's me and Gab and Gab's mom and Gab's best friend just in a storage unit, you know, a little, I guess in feet, like a 10-foot by 10-foot storage unit just
Mhm.
fulfilling thousands of these orders as best we could. Like putting these and the original product packaging, we have really sleek product packaging now too, because we refined it, but it was
Yeah.
just like a white box that said CMY
Yeah.
Cube. There was nothing special about it. Putting it in these poly mailers, just hoping that it works, printing each label one by one. But yeah, that was 4.5 years ago. Now we are in over 300 retailers worldwide. We're in really notable ones too, like the Museum of Modern Art, the MoMA in New York, or actually in the MoMA New York, MoMA San Francisco, MoMA Tokyo. We're in the Getty in Los Angeles. They stock our product. The National Children's Museum in Washington, D.C., they stock us. The Philip and Patricia Frost Science Museum in Miami, the Illuminarium.
How do you
There's
secure those opportunities? Because those museums not easy to get in. So
Yeah, well, it was a combination of things. One is that pretty early on with our viral content on TikTok specifically,
yeah.
we got noticed by some pretty cool science influencers, science content creators. So I don't know, you might be familiar, but probably someone in your audience would be the content creator Vsauce, Michael Stevens from Vsauce. He's got at this point it must be 20 million followers on YouTube, and
Okay.
I'd been watching him since I was 10 years old. Okay. Sorry, yeah, I've been watching him, maybe not since I was 10, but I've been watching him for easily like 15 years. And in the science YouTube space, he is royalty. He's like the godfather. He's well respected and everybody loves him. And we went viral with this cool new science gadget that no one had ever seen before. And he contacted us. His team contacted,
Okay.
and because he had this quarterly subscription box called the Curiosity Box, and in that he would include he'd include like a bunch of cool science and math games and just cool stuff to be curious about the universe with. But all the profits from this went to Alzheimer's research. And so he contacted us and asked if we could maybe be part of the Curiosity Box for one of the quarters and do like a custom product with them.
Yeah.
And but they didn't have a lot of money to buy the products. So not that they weren't well funded, but like all their profits went back into Alzheimer's research. And immediately we were like, you're Michael Stevens, you're Vsauce, you're my hero. The profits go to Alzheimer's research. We did it for cost price. When we gave them 10,000 units, basically cost price, made a custom packaging for them. And then we went viral again. But this time that we went viral to his audience. And then off the back of that, we just had so many eyes were on our products, and there was so much publicity that we'd been kind of contacting smaller museums and just direct contacts and whatever. A few big names reach out to us after that.
I see.
Some of them I'm still in talks with about like kind of co-developing products, but some of the ones I can talk about are like the MoMA. The MoMA New York, they came to us first.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And when we first shipped out to them, it was, like in business and in life, as you grow and develop, you hit these milestones, and maybe you're working towards them, and maybe you don't know you're working towards them. But every once in a while, you get this experience where you kind of look around and like pinch yourself, like, is this real? And when the MoMA reached out to me, I was like, this is incredible. And so of course now the MoMA's probably still in our top 5 biggest orders. Like they order the most from us. But then off the back of the MoMA, we realized that we should really try to get into the museum gift shop space, because our product,
it is a really good fit. It's small.
Our product is like, what do you call this? Is this a toy? It is a toy in the idea that you play with it, right? But it's an educational toy because you can learn something with it. But it doesn't fit the traditional toy space. It's not an action figure.
It's a little bit different.
Sorry, I got to think here. It's not an action figure. Sure. It's not a remote control car. It's not a coloring book. Like, what is this thing? And we realized that the way to describe it is the kind of thing you'd find in museums gift shop. That's how you describe what one of these is. And so now that we had the name the MoMA on board, we would just reach out to museums and be like, hey, we're in the MoMA. 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 And then we got bigger and bigger that way.
Oh,
And then
I see.
eventually, it turns out that there's museums whose buyers go to the MoMA once a year. We've heard this
Mhm.
from a few different museums. They go
Yeah.
to the MoMA to see what the MoMA is selling so that they can sell it back in their museum. So like
Okay, okay,
museums in
okay.
Colombia
Yeah.
said that to us. Museums in like Colorado said that to us.
Oh, whoa.
So then we
Okay,
kind of just,
nice.
and like once they know it fits in a museum's gift shop, once we've proven this
Mhm.
case, everyone else just wants it because they need cool things for the museum
Yeah,
gift shop. So that's how we
sure.
got in everywhere. And eventually we got into my local science museum because I'm from Miami, and
I
we got into the Philip and Patricia Frost Science Museum in Miami, which was
I
another
see.
momentous occasion for me. Yeah.
I see. But you currently live in Australia, right? Or do you live
Yeah,
in the
we're
United
in
States?
the Central Coast, Australia. That's where our
Okay.
headquarters are.
I
That's
see.
about an hour north of Sydney. I've been
I
here for uh, over a decade now. I'm a
I see.
citizen of
So I
Australia.
want to kind of take a step back because this whole story just sounds like almost like a definitely entrepreneurial success. But taking back to originally when you first started 4 years ago, like what is that moment when you notice your product is going viral? Like were you like what was going through your mind, and were you trying to get like a utility pattern or design pattern immediately, try to protect the concept, or what are some of the steps like 4 years ago that you took to ensure the company can kind of protect itself from all the
Right,
and make sure you can still sustain the growth.
right. So short answer to that is we made mistakes, big ones, costly mistakes,
Hmm.
huge, like keep you up at night, crying to your mom mistakes,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah, will you mind
which is
sharing
part of.
some of that? I think that's going
Yeah,
to be a
absolutely,
very
absolutely.
valuable lesson.
Now,
So
now we have the system down. So
hmm.
our when we do new product development, um, we will do the trademark.
Hmm.
We will do the trademark when we have an idea for a product. We want to,
Hmm.
whether or not we go through the actual full product development cycle and make a product at the end of it,
Hmm.
we still do the trademark right in the beginning now.
Hmm.
And we do the design patent or the copyright, whatever is associated with that particular product. We'll do that in prototyping now before we
Hmm.
release it. This, we didn't know what we were doing. My
Hmm.
business was, I was a carpenter. I don't need to trademark anything or patent anything. Like, I'm just, I'm building walls and stuff and decks. And Gab, when she was doing her handbags, we did do a design registration for the handbag,
Yeah.
but it's a very different space.
Okay.
It's a very different space. Like there are a lot of handbags in the world.
Mm.
If you take a walk down the street, you'll see 1,000 different types of handbags. Whereas
Oh,
this is a
sure.
one of a kind, unique product in the world. So it's a different thing. So we didn't do the trademark. We had the domain name. We got the domain
Yeah.
name, and that's all we knew. We're like, wow, domain name. We got this. Let's lock
Mm.
this. We didn't do the trademark as early as we should have, and we didn't do the design patent as early as we should have.
Mhm.
We do have the trademark. I do
Mhm.
have the trademark CMY cubes. It was a battle to get that though, because you're and the patent and things like that, because you're supposed to do that before you release it to the public, especially in America. Some countries don't mind if you have public eyes on the product before you try to protect it, but America
Mhm.
does. America really minds. They want you to do all of this before anybody gets to see it, so that you can prove that it was your idea and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, and there ended up being lawsuits. There ended up, I mean, we're always getting sued. Like, not we're always getting sued, but like being in business, lawsuits are just kind of part of what happens.
Mm.
But we did go through some legal battles to get that. People wanted to cancel our trademark.
Mm.
We're actually in a legal battle right now where a counterfeit that sells on Amazon
Yeah.
that doesn't even pretend not to be a counterfeit. They used our photos.
Oh my god.
Okay, like they
Okay, that's
literally went to
bad.
our website and our
Yeah.
Amazon, took
Yeah.
our photos, and they do it. And they were selling on Amazon, and we were made aware of this because we got emails from people being
Mhm.
like the products, something's wrong with the product's rubbish, or like it's like it broke, and we're like, I spend so much time trying to make these absolutely fantastic, excellent, high
Mm.
quality products. Like the acrylic is diamond polished. We have a
Yeah.
proprietary system that applies the color. I spend a
Mm.
lot of time, and even in the shipping, like the box is designed to protect the product. So the kind
Yeah.
of complaints that we were getting from people didn't make sense. And then we looked it up, and these people had never purchased from us. Like we look up their name, we're like, what's your order number? What's your name? Like we're trying to go through this customer service process. They never ordered from us. And we traced it back to this apparently pretty prolific counterfeit on Amazon that was selling crap. If you'll excuse me saying, they were selling crap. And customers were thinking that they were buying our product, but they weren't. They were buying someone else's. And so then we got them taken down off of Amazon, which was easy. You know, like it's a love-hate relationship with Amazon in general, but at least they, if you have the trademark, you have the patent, they will protect your IP for you. So they got taken down off of Amazon. And their response to that was to sue us for damages and to try to get our trademark canceled. And that's a legal battle that I'm in right now. My lawyers assure me
they're trying to sue you, the real person.
Yes, the counterfeit company is trying to sue us. CMYcubes.com. They're selling counterfeit CMY cubes and trying to sue. Our lawyers are very confident that we're going to win, and that they're just trying to annoy us to the point where we'll give in. But that's just not how this is going to go down. This is just part of what happens. So as far as like, did we protect things early on? We didn't have the systems in place that we do now, like, you know, SOPs, right? And extended operating procedures, where now there's steps, there's a timeline, there's, you know, we have our IP lawyers, we have our international lawyers, we've got our legal business lawyers, like we have these relationships that we've developed. We know what that process looks like. And it's actually one of the pieces of advice that I give most often to new business founders or people that I coach, is protect your IP early. Protect your IP first. Like protect your name, protect your products, protect it all first. And the pushback you get to that is that you know, people have just started out. They don't even have a product that they can sell yet. And I'm asking them to spend $1,000 or $2,000 on like some trademark or some patent. And yeah, that sucks. That's a big outlay for the average person who doesn't have a business, who just has an idea. It's a significant investment in oneself, right? Like, it's a leap of faith, but you have to invest in yourself if you want to make something happen. And it's much cheaper than paying for lawyers that cost $400 an hour, which is what I pay right now. I pay for multiple lawyers that cost upwards of $400 an hour. So if you can just do it when you should, it's actually much cheaper in the long run. And it's a good stress test as well, of whether or not you believe in yourself and whether or not you believe in your product. Will you spend the money on yourself? You know?
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. And since you're able to expand internationally so quickly with your brand, what are some of other like lesson learned from that international expansion, the phase that you went through, from like just selling in Australia to now selling globally across the world?
Well, so different from most companies, we kind of started internationally.
Oh, okay.
It was a concerted effort about 1.5 years or 2 years in to actually increase our presence in Australia. And that is probably for American listeners specifically, a strange idea, because the American market is so enormous that you needn't expand internationally right in the beginning. You can just sell to America, right? But it is a lot more normal for Australian companies, e-commerce companies. Australia is a small country. It's like 25 million people in the entire country. People don't realize that the geographical area of Australia is basically the same as the lower 48 of the United States. It's the same size, but it's got the population of Florida, right? So while it is a strong economy and it punches above its weight, you know, it is quite small. And so what Australian companies tend to do is ship to Europe, ship to the US, ship to Canada, Japan, South America, you know, like everywhere like that. And because our marketing strategy in the beginning was go viral, you know, period, full stop. There wasn't like an ad campaign on Facebook where we're like selecting Australia. We weren't doing that. It was just like, put this content out, whoever likes it's gonna see it. And so our first orders were international orders. Probably like 2/3 of them were America. The lion's share of the rest would have been Europe, and then maybe there was like an Australian order here and there. So now that was in the beginning. That just sort of happened. We had to figure out what that meant. What I realize now, though, is that markets are different, audiences are different, people are
Yeah,
different
sure.
in general, and that'll range from the kinds of products that they're interested in to
Mhm.
what they expect to pay for a certain product.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Mhm.
our, like, for instance, we have a Japanese distributor,
Mm.
and their pricing is quite different from what our pricing is in America, say.
Mhm.
So yeah, we've learned a lot along the way.
For sure. And I want to kind of also piggyback on the success you have, especially with the viral content and with the amount of view. I think with some of the video, I think you gather like 100, some crazy number, like 150 million
I
view.
think we're more than that
With
now,
some-
because
yeah, more
that's
than that
actually
now.
an old figure.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
What was
well,
your workflow and strategy? Like, were you just reaching out to influencer a lot? Were you creating all the like content in house? What was your workflow and strategy like
right.
to create so many viral content for the brand?
So there's definitely strategy, but I can't take credit for it in the slightest. I'm an engineer. I have an operations mindset. I have a logical mindset.
Sure.
I'm Product development is my passion, my joy. I like making new things. But as far
Mhm.
as this marketing strategy, I take zero credit for that. Our amazing success is 100% due to Gab. Um,
Yeah.
Gabrielle Saper, Gabby Saper. Her Instagram is Scale with Gabs. Her TikTok is Scale with
Yeah.
Gabs. If you want to get more information about her viral
Mhm.
marketing tactics, she's a coach and an exec in another company called Shecom, which is about helping
Oh.
women in business expand their companies. And
Oh, nice. Okay.
she's chief of growth for that company, and her
Mhm.
forte in coaching is viral marketing. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
it was a good team. It was a good team. I do
Mm.
know way more about marketing than your average person does, for sure. Because
Mhm.
I'm in charge of the business and I have
Yeah.
Gab with me all the time. But as far as the actual strategy, that was all Gab. So I can explain it in a second, but I just want to make sure that credit is placed where credit is due, for sure.
Sure.
And in the beginning, we were posting our own content. So
Mhm.
we would make content, we would make videos, and just try to make them. This is the kind of early TikTok as well. Just try to
Mhm.
make them uh, kind of sticky. I don't know how to say it. So my first
Mhm.
series of videos, it was how do you break a CMY cube, right? Which is
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah.
One, because why am I showing that my product can break, right?
Yeah.
And two,
Counterintuitive. Yeah.
it's a beautiful and semi-fragile. Like, this is made of acrylic. Like, these, if you throw this at a wall, it could chip. It won't shatter. It's not glass, but it can break.
Yeah.
But we made a series of videos where we put it in a blender, put it in a microwave, ran over it with a car, ran yeah, yeah, dropped it from the top of a building or something. Like, just did a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff to it, just
Yeah.
because it seems like it's so precious. And so the
Mm.
idea was, just go the complete opposite, like turn that on its head,
Opposite. I
right?
see. Okay.
And it worked. And we, in the early days, we were posting on Reddit, and we got a lot of accounts banned that way, because you're not allowed to do that on Reddit. And
Okay.
it was unfortunate, because some of what I wanted to do on Reddit was really just share something cool. Like, there's cool channels and subreddits
Yeah.
where, like, I just wanted to share how awesome this thing was,
I
and other
see.
people did too. But then some of it just became a bit too marketing, right? And
Mhm.
Reddit doesn't like that, so we
Yeah.
switched and we started just doing mostly on TikTok. Um, and the TikTok ones just went viral from these videos, because you have a combination of something that no one's ever seen before with an interesting marketing strategy,
And
which
all
is
those video is shot in-house, or do you hire like a team outside?
originally they were all shut
Uh,
in house.
oh.
Now, fast forward 4 years, we have a full time content creator who, off the back of our
Mm.
work with him, has now
Yeah.
started his own content creation agency. So he's got
Oh,
about
okay.
4 people, and they're all young. They're all like, they've got their finger on the pulse. His name is Lee.
Hmm.
He is such an amazing, inspiring, just powerful young guy, and I so admire him, even though I've got 10 years on him,
Mhm.
because if I had had the confidence and I guess, like, the self belief that he does at his age, like, who knows? But we brought him on board, and it was a long process to find him, because
Hmm.
your brand and the voice of your brand is a very specific thing if you're a real brand. You know, like
Yeah.
nothing against drop shipping, but the voice of, say, a drop shipper is not going to be the same as the company that develops and distributes their own products. You know, like we have our own culture, we have
For
our own
sure.
feel, and finding a content creator that matched our energy on that was a long process. And we went
Yeah.
through a few different content creators that we had found over the years, and then we found Lee, and Lee just he spoke with our voice without us having to train him to do that. Just it
Okay.
was just
Yeah.
good. And that was just a long process of just going through content creators, getting content made. But once we found him, we went all in, which is why he's opened up his agency now. And so he has his team, and he selects the team, and they also have our voice, but he's still the main person. And now he makes our content with Gab. So Gab is in charge of marketing in general. We have another marketing manager here, and then they manage Lee and his team. And so they'll come up with the ideas and the campaign strategies for different markets, like say for because we sell on TikTok Shop now, and so there's like the social commerce side of what's going on TikTok, but we also cross post to YouTube. We cross post to Instagram. We're huge on Pinterest. We've got like 2 million views a month on Pinterest,
Oh, nice.
things like that. So all these different platforms, even sometimes down to the country, will have different strategies. And
But is
Gab,
Lee and his team working exclusively only for your brand, or he's also working with other brands?
he has a couple of his own brands that he works
Okay.
on, but we're definitely the lion's share of what he's doing.
I see.
And yeah, so he makes the content for us, and he does the editing and does the posting. Gab manages that and does the strategy where he's going with that.
I see. Yeah, sounds like you have a really incredible team, which is very important to support the growth and your
We have the
vision.
best team.
So,
Every single person that works with us and works on these projects are people that I admire and I respect, and that I want to be more like in many ways. Like every single person, it's a delicate thing, the culture and the feel of a company, because a company is really just a
made up
group of people or a person.
Yeah.
And like, from when, before I became a business owner or an entrepreneur, you look at these companies and they're kind of these mystical beings, these concepts, these kind of nebulous things of success. And then the ones that you come into contact with most often are enormous companies like Apple, Google, right? You got these like big hitters, or like Mercedes, who knows? And they seem really faceless and anonymous, or at least they kind of used to. Now you're getting more faces to the companies. Like we do see more of Tim Cook, we see more of Elon Musk and things like that. But you kind of can forget from that viewpoint that there is no SpaceX. That's it's not actually a real thing. It's a concept. What it is a group of people who are cooperating in the same direction. And that's true all the way down to, even if you're just like a sole trader, somebody working on a business yourself, how you feel about the business and how you act towards your customers is what the business is. And so when selecting our team here, we've made mistakes. We've brought people on that weren't the right, even if their skills were exceptional, even if their skills were good, how they showed up and how they communicate with the rest of the team, if it doesn't fit, it can be a cancer for the company. And I don't use that word. I don't use that word lightly. I understand that there's a lot of baggage associated with the word cancer, and I'm not trying to detract from people who suffer from that in any way. But businesses are organisms as well, and they can also suffer from diseases in the same way. And I'm using this as a specific metaphor to say that, like, it can be something that just eventually builds to the point where it can destroy your company. You need to select your team very, very carefully. And that's why I'm so happy that our team is just aces. Like we've got the right people doing the right thing, and honestly, I love them all. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom, and
Sure.
also congratulations on your success so far. As well,
Thanks.
wrapping up today's interview, if you have to share just one piece of advice with someone that's getting started within the toys and game industry, what would that be?
You're supposed to be afraid. And there's a lot in that sentence. I'm not trying to say like you must be afraid, like be afraid. What I'm trying to say is it's okay that you're afraid. That's not an inhibitor. That's not when you're doing your calculus of whether you should move forward. The fear that you feel shouldn't be something that stops you. That's normal. You
Yeah.
know, like say you take an ice bath or something. Yeah, it's very cold and your body thinks it's dying, but
Yeah.
you know this is supposed to happen. You're supposed to be very cold. It's supposed to feel like you're dying. That's what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
And the process to starting a business or running a business, fear is part of it. I've
Yeah.
got a big-ish team where I mean we're like, you know, we're not a small business anymore. We're not huge, like small medium business. We turn over in the millions at this point, and you know I've got so much going on, and from almost any viewpoint looking out from the outside looking in, I'm successful. This is successful, but I feel fear every day, and
Yeah.
it's just part of what happens. And part of what I think the development of being a business owner is becoming comfortable with that, knowing when to listen to it, and overcoming that in a way, or kind of becoming a friend to your fear. Like your fear is not there for no reason. It's telling you about risk, right? But you
Mhm.
don't need to blow up those risks in your mind. You don't need to overweigh the consequences of those risks. It's okay to be afraid, and the path to growth is through that fear. So that's the one thing. Normally, when people are about to start something, they're just like, I just don't know. Like, should I do this?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Mhm.
Not to get overly philosophical for you here, but I have tattooed on my arm "Memento Mori," which means remember death. Which I know
Mhm.
just changes how this conversation feels a little bit, but I actually think it's a very um, it's a positive thing for me. It's that we're all on this journey and we know where it ends.
Yeah.
Okay, like there's no one gets through this alive. And so if there's things that you feel you want to do in your life, what are
Mhm.
you waiting for? Like here it is, do it. And
Mhm.
often the worst case scenario, if you actually sit there and you write it out, isn't as bad as you think. Like
Mhm.
maybe you blew $1,000 on a trademark that never went anywhere. At least you took a shot at yourself.
True. Mhm.
And to be honest, in all of my interactions with people and all of my experience, I've actually never met somebody who didn't accomplish what they set out to accomplish if they didn't stop, if they didn't give up, if they didn't start giving into that fear. Like
Yeah.
if you just keep going, you will keep making progress. And then one day you'll look back and be like, wow, look at all I've done. So yeah, that might one piece of advice is like you're supposed to be afraid. It's okay to be
Yeah,
afraid.
thank you so much for sharing that. So, for those listeners that want to find more about you and your company, where is the best place for people to find you online?
Uh, that's one of my 2025 goals is actually to increase my personal brand and my presence online. I'm personally not very active. I do
Mhm.
do coaching and things like that, very select in ways. The best way to know more about us or our company is either with
Mhm.
at CMY Cubes.
Mhm.
That's cyan, magenta, yellow cubes. So it's CMY Cubes everywhere.
Yeah.
TikTok, Instagram, wherever. Scale with Gabs is
Mhm.
Gabs' handle
Okay.
for TikTok and Instagram.
Okay.
If you message either of those platforms, there's probably a way to get to me
Mhm.
through them. But I am trying to this year put more content out and just be more of a presence. It's a long journey for me. It's hard for me to feel like
Mhm.
people want to hear what I have to say, but I've had enough feedback where it seems like I've paid in blood, sweat, and tears for my lessons. And if anything, I have a responsibility to society to share that.
Sure,
So
then. Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll make sure we put that in the show note. And for our
cool.
listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We hope you enjoy the conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support and would love it if you can leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more
Cool.
resources, tips, and the latest update in the toy industry, visit our website at toy-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag Toy Business Unbox. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestion for future episode. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, keep bringing joy to toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unbox podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for doing this. This is
Thank